right. Welcome to our debate with Mr. Bingaman and Mrs. Wong. Our first question goes to Mr. Bingaman. What is the greatest environmental issue facing our nation today?
I'm glad you asked that. Let me tell you, the worst environmental hazard that our country faces today is a salt shortage. Say that again. There's a shortage of salt. I've traveled through suburban America trying to connect with the people of my country. And the one thing I saw that disturbed me most were science teachers making our nation's salt supply disappear.
Can you please clarify that? Do you mean they are dissolving salt in water?
Exactly. I watched a science teacher put salt into water, wave their magic wand, and that salt was gone. Now, I may not be a rocket scientist, but I know there's only a fixed amount of salt in this world. If we use up all of that salt, we won't have any left to put on our eggs. I don't want to live in a world where we can't put salt on our eggs, and I don't think you want to either.
Ms. Wong, would you like to respond?
Sure, I'll respond to that. It seems to me that Mr. Bingaman is confusing the words disappear and dissolve. They do not mean the same thing. When something disappears, you're implying that it doesn't exist anymore. But when you dissolve something, like salt, it goes into the water and it breaks apart and you can't see it anymore. The salt molecules go in between the water molecules. So it looks like it's gone and it disappeared, but it's really still there. You can even prove to yourself that the salt is still in the water if you drank it, because it would taste really salty.
Back to you, Mr. Bingaman.
Well, in light of this work that my party has done to make salt soluble, I think that the biggest threat to our country's environment is the problem of the penguins up in the North Pole. I've seen them up there. They have nothing there to eat but ice cubes. We need to bring those penguins back down here to America where the food is.
Ms. Wong, would you like to respond?
I would like to correct Mr. Bingaman on one of his points. He said that salt is soluble. This is not the correct way to describe solubility. You can say that salt is soluble in water, but it is not soluble in oil, for example. You always have to say the liquid that you are dissolving the solid in when you are describing solubility. So it's correct to say salt is soluble in water, but it is not correct to say that salt is soluble.
Ms. Wong, is there anything that Mr. Bingaman said that you would agree with?
Well, I would have to agree that Mr. Bingaman is not a rocket scientist. Thank you. Look at this cup of water. The blue dots represent water molecules. If you put salt in the water, most people will know what happens. It doesn't disappear. Rather, the salt molecules come apart and go between the water molecules. Notice how the salt molecules are evenly distributed between the water molecules. There's a property for what is happening. This property is called solubility. Solubility is the ability for one substance to dissolve in a liquid substance. Some other words you need to know include solute. Solute is a substance being dissolved. An example of a solute could not only be salt, but sugar, as found in Kool-Aid. The liquid substance is called the solvent. When we say solvent, it is the liquid substance dissolving another substance to make a solution. When we say solution, we mean that it is a mixture in which a solute's particles are evenly spread through the solvent's particles. So when I take the solute plus the solvent, I get a solution. Since the Kool-Aid has some red dye in it, I can see that this is a solution. The red dye and sugar crystals are evenly distributed through the glass of Kool-Aid. Another way that I know that it's evenly distributed is with each drink of the Kool-Aid, it tastes the same amount of sweetness. There is the same amount of sugar in each drink. This whole action of making a solution is dissolved. I'm sure that you've heard the word dissolve before. Dissolve is the process of making a solution. Now, there are several ways we can describe when things dissolve and do not dissolve. We say that something is soluble if the substance dissolves in the liquid. It is partially soluble if it only partly dissolves in the liquid. We call something not soluble if the substance does not dissolve in the liquid. It is correct to say that salt, the solute, is soluble in water, the solvent. You must mention the solute and the solvent. You cannot say that salt is soluble. You definitely mention the solute, but you don't actually mention what the solvent is. Salt is soluble in some things and not others, so it's not correct to say that salt is soluble. You could say that salt is soluble in water, or you could say salt is not soluble in oil. Saying that salt is soluble doesn't make any sense.